If you're thinking about coming to Thailand, either for a holiday or to stay longer term, here are 6 crucial things that you need to know about life in Thailand that will make your life a bit easier. Number 1 is transport. Now, I live in Phuket. Maybe you're going to Bangkok, maybe you're going to Chiang Mai, one of the other islands, but wherever you're going, you're going to have similar kind of options unless you're right out in the sticks somewhere. So in Phuket, there are buses if you want to get buses, but Phuket's a big island and it's difficult to get around by bus or by car because of the traffic. The traffic is really quite bad and it will slow you down a lot. So hire a car by all means, but be aware that you're going to get stuck. It's going to take a long time to get anywhere. For that reason, a lot of people choose scooters. Scooters or motorbikes are a great option for Thailand. They're a great option in terms of speed and convenience. You can weave through the traffic. You can park anywhere for free. So you can just get where you want to go very quickly. And of course, the climate means it's very suitable for riding a motorbike around. If it rains, of course, slightly different story. But you can cover up, you can get a poncho. Everybody wears these plastic ponchos, which are not great for plastic pollution, but they do the job. You can rent scooters, pretty good prices most of the time. In high season, you might struggle depending on when you're coming because everybody wants them. The other thing to be aware of is safety. There's no getting around the fact that motorbikes and scooters are not a particularly safe mode of transport anywhere, and even more so in Thailand because people drive like crazy sometimes. You'll see all sorts of things, people driving down the road without their lights on at night, no helmets, people driving the wrong way down the road a lot of the time without lights on at night. All sorts of things that you just wouldn't expect to see in Western countries because, well, you're stopped by the police probably in Western countries. But over here it's kind of normal. Always wear a helmet. Please wear a helmet if you're going to ride a motorbike in Thailand. Other ways to get around, you'll have heard of tuk-tuks. Tuk-tuks are kind of for tourists. Locals don't use them. They're expensive and they're kind of interesting and cool depending on where you are. In Bangkok, they look more like the traditional kind of tuk-tuk you might be thinking of, kind of 3-wheeler things, halfway between a motorbike and a small kind of car, more like a 3-wheeler motorbike in Bangkok. In Phuket, they're quite different. They're more like sort of little minivans or little pickup trucks that are converted like that. Honestly, not that exciting. Certainly not in Phuket. I wouldn't bother with them unless you really want to go in an open air thing, but you'll pay for it. You'll pay a lot more. Probably double what you would pay in a taxi. Speaking of taxis, one of the best ways to get around is by using the ride calling apps that they use over here, similar to Uber and things like that in other countries. But they don't have Uber over here. They have Grab, Bolt, Maxim are 3 of the most popular ones. And Grab is going to be quite expensive generally. Bolt is usually cheaper. And also Maxim is another one that's quite cheap. All of these things are very convenient. Obviously, the busier the place you're in, the more choice you'll have of rides. But yes, you can get a taxi pretty cheap. In Phuket, if you're going to get cars everywhere, it's going to add up. Short journeys will be like 300 or 400 baht. You can always get a motorbike taxi from these apps as well, not just on Grab. So you'll be sitting on the back of a bike. Often there won't be a helmet. You'll just be clinging on for dear life, which if you've never done it before, it can be scary the first time you've done it. But when you've done it a few times, it's not that bad. You can try that. It's a lot cheaper than getting a taxi, a car taxi. Certainly, if you don't want to hire a bike yourself, you're not comfortable driving one, then motorbike taxis are probably the cheapest option and fastest option for getting around. And you can get those via the apps. In places like Bangkok, they have like a licensed official motorbike taxis. So the guys that wear these high-vis jackets, they have like taxi ranks where you'll see all these motorbikes and these guys waiting. And the prices are set, so you're not going to get ripped off. If you see those, it's perfectly safe in Bangkok to use those rather than using one of the apps. In Phuket, you don't see those as much. I think you do get them in some places, but I've never used them in Phuket. Phuket's a bit more spread out. So next thing is payments. How do you pay for things when you're over here? You're probably used to contactless payments in the UK, probably in the US and other Western countries as well, using your phone, the NFC on your phone. Or using a card just by tapping it. Now, that does work in Thailand. You can do that, but Thai people don't because the cards that come with Thai bank accounts don't usually have that feature. It's not taken off really. Big shops like supermarkets, 7-Eleven, You can pay with contactless payments there, or just putting your card in the machine. So you can use Visa and MasterCard and things like that, or your debit card from home. But don't be surprised if you're in a shop and you go to pay with your phone and the person behind the counter doesn't understand what you're trying to do, because it's not common over here. I stopped doing it for that reason, because every time I get my phone out to indicate I wanted to pay, I would get very confused looks and I'd have to explain, it's okay, look, I've done it before, it works. But they may never have seen anybody do that before, even though they work there. So just bear that in mind. You can pay with cards, although a lot of places won't accept it. Only the bigger places will accept your Western bank cards. A lot of small places, restaurants and things, won't take those cards. You'll have to pay with cash or another method. So cash is a good idea, to keep cash with you. If you're used to contactless payments in Western countries, then it feels a bit backwards to go back to cash. But at the same time, we're all used to it, right? You can get your cash out from ATMs, but charges are high for doing that. You'll get charged about 200 baht, sometimes more than that, every time you withdraw from an ATM. And when you're getting charged 200 baht, every transaction, that adds up. 200 baht is about $6 or about £4.70. So it's a lot, especially if you're just getting a small amount of money out of an ATM. So there's a good way you can avoid that, which is by going into banks. Not every bank will allow you to withdraw cash over the counter from a foreign bank account, but many do, and they don't charge any fees when you go in. It takes a bit longer. Thai banks can be slow. There can be big queues. Yeah, I still do that. I go into banks because I get good exchange rates. I don't get charged any fees, and I can use the cash anywhere. I don't have to worry that my card isn't going to be accepted. Another thing, if you're here longer term, is you can open a Thai bank account. Now, that means you can get a Thai bank card, but it also means you can pay with a QR code. This is what Thai people do. They scan, or scan, as they say, scan. Everybody does that all the time in Thailand. That's the most popular way for paying for things. On their mobile banking app, you scan a QR code. It's usually pretty quick and pretty easy to do that. Now, opening a Thai bank account is another matter. It does depend on what visa you're on. And these things change all the time. So recently I tried to open one, and I'm on an ED visa, and I was told there's only one bank at the moment where you can open an account on that visa. This seems to be a new thing. I don't know how long it will last. I've heard of people opening Thai bank accounts with absolutely no problems, all sorts of banks. So it varies, it changes, and sometimes they crack down on things because certain people have abused the system or something. Either that or they're changing things. So it's not always easy to open a Thai bank account. You might have to go around different banks asking. If you do have a Thai bank account, one thing you can do, of course, is to send money from your home country to that Thai bank account. You can use services like Wise. I have done that before. The fees are actually quite high. Now, it's very convenient, and they don't give a great exchange rate. So I worked out the difference, transferring £500 or something like that. And the difference was about £25 in fees between using Wise or just withdrawing cash over the counter in a bank. Here's another one, toilets. I remember when I first arrived in Thailand, first day, first night, the place I was staying didn't have any toilet paper. And so I went to the reception and asked about this. The guy there, who wasn't Thai, he was German, he said, oh yeah, we don't normally provide toilet paper, but I'll give you some now. And he explained to me that there is a hose that you will see in pretty much all Thai toilets, a little hose next to every toilet. And this is what most people use, bidet hose or bum gun, which takes some getting used to if you're a Westerner. It takes a bit of practice, but once you're used to it, there's no going back. Now, this would never work in Western countries because you've got cold water and you don't want to get water everywhere because it's not going to evaporate as quickly in Western countries where the climate's cooler. But over here, look it up online about the best way to use it if you're confused. Obviously, they're quite powerful sometimes, so be careful. But it's actually really good. Now, Thai toilets can be really confusing for Westerners as well. A lot of places, sort of like Phuket, where I am, you'll probably get Western-style toilets most of the time. You may or may not get paper, and there will be a bum gun. But there are some places you can go to, including in Phuket, where you get real Thai-style squatter toilets. Often no flush, no running water. Sometimes there is just a bowl of water next to it. And honestly, if you've never seen it before, or even if you have seen it a few times, it can be really confusing. I will try and post a picture of one such toilet that I came across where honestly I just didn't know what to do. So I left. So yes, just be aware of that. It's quite different. You might want to carry some toilet paper around with you just for the odd time where you don't have any available. Next thing is internet and SIM cards. Now, I was amazed at the internet speeds over here in Phuket. When I arrived, it's a lot faster than what you tend to get in the UK. A lot faster. In the UK, before I left, where I was staying had particularly bad internet. I was only getting around 8 to 10 meg down, which is terrible. Obviously, a lot of places in the UK, you can do much better than that. But over here, the smallest, most remote little places have super fast fiber. I've been sitting in a cafe in the jungle in Phuket, which didn't feel like it was close to anywhere at all, getting like 1 gigabyte down and 1 gigabyte up. It was like the fastest internet I've had, and pretty much everywhere. Every cafe you go to, you'll have really fast internet. Most accommodation, as long as you're close enough to the Wi-Fi points. So that's really good. And if you stay in a place where you need to buy your own internet, it's not expensive, probably quite a bit cheaper than Western countries. SIM cards, what I did, I got an eSIM before I arrived. You can just wait till you turn up, get hold of a local Thai SIM card. Obviously be aware of how many SIM card slots you have in your phone. I've got an iPhone, got 1 SIM card slot. It also does eSIMs. So I did an eSIM before I arrived, and so as soon as I arrived it was working, and then once that had expired I could just renew it on the Thai network, and it's really cheap. Obviously it depends how much data you want and things. So I use DTAC purely because that's what I signed up for before I even arrived. There's only, I think, 3 main Thai networks. There's not a lot to choose from, but it's generally very cheap. At the moment I pay 200 baht a month, which is nothing, like £4.70, about $6 a month. It doesn't have a huge amount of data, but it's enough for me because most of the time I'm on Wi-Fi wherever I go anyway. So I'm not out using my mobile data very much. The best thing about the deal that I'm on, you can choose to get a free 200 baht McDonald's voucher every month. And whereas I didn't particularly think, oh yeah, I really want to go to McDonald's every month, if you're offering me a free voucher worth 200 baht and the monthly bill is 200 baht, then, well, I'm either getting a free meal or I'm getting free mobile. Next thing, seasons. The last one I'm going to talk about today is the seasons. Thailand is tropical. It's in the tropics. So you don't get seasons like you get in Northern European countries or the US. The length of the day doesn't vary very much either. It does vary a little bit by about 20-30 minutes throughout the year, but you don't notice. It's not like the sunset, sunrise times are wildly different throughout the year like they are in the UK. And it means that it's generally always warm. Certainly in Phuket, it doesn't often get below about 30 degrees. It's warm all the time, and you don't have spring, summer, autumn, winter. The seasons are broadly defined as the rainy season is about May to October. Sometimes it goes on later than that. Cooler season is when most people tend to visit, which is November to about February. It's not cool. It's really not that cool. It's pretty hot. It can get very hot actually. So I don't really know why they call it the cool season. It's just kind of relative. It gets even hotter in about March to May. So that's really the hot season, March to May, where again it's not a huge difference. It's just a few degrees hotter. Rainy season isn't that bad, to be honest. It's not like it's constantly raining. There's a lot of sun in rainy season as well. The worst it's been since I was here. It's the first year I arrived. There were about 2 weeks in October, I think, where it just rained constantly and barely stopped. And I felt sorry for people on holiday during that time because, I know there were some people here during that time who didn't get any sun. It was just constant rain, and that must be pretty annoying. So there's a risk that that can happen. It's not very likely unless you come sort of later in rainy season, I would say. I like this kind of climate. I don't miss the seasons personally. I appreciate that spring is nice when you've gone through winter, and autumn is nice when you've gone through summer. But I like it being like this. I like it being warm. And in Thailand, there's different ways that kind of signify the passing of the year, I suppose. Cultural things, in Thai festivals like Songkran and Loi Krathong, and other festivals, Chinese festivals, lots of those in Phuket, the Phuket Vegetarian Festival. There's lots of festivals dotted throughout the year, and that's nice. It's nice because it gives you big cultural markers throughout the year to sort of indicate the passing, given that you don't have the same ones that you have in the UK, like Easter and Christmas and bonfire night, things like that. There are equivalents. They do have Christmas over here, but locals don't celebrate it because it's predominantly Buddhist country and Muslim as well. Hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.